Um, anyway, a little bit of background on what I'm going to do today. Most of you probably are used to seeing my things like this, kind of tight and, layered and all of that kind of approach to watercolors. And while I really enjoy doing this, the other day a friend brought me in this beautiful bouquet of tulips, yellows and oranges and reds. And so I sat down and I started to draw that out and to paint it in my traditional way, which is a nice beginning. But I found myself feeling a little bit bored, a little bit tired of doing my own way, the way I've been doing for 20 years now, 25 years. And so I thought, what can I do to get me out of this kind of tedium where I'm at? And I thought, well, my partner had some big sheets of Yupo. So I thought, well, I'll just get the Yupo out and play. And I'll tell you what it did. It loosened me up enough, and it made me feel really like I connected with that cheerful energy that the tulips had, that then I felt like I could maybe settle down and work in my traditional way. But then I finished this up, and I thought, wow, that was too much fun. So I don't know, maybe I'm off onto a whole new thing. But the surface that I'm working on today is something that I said I would never work on. In fact, I think I have said that to you as a group, probably. It's called Yupo. It's a polypropylene.
How do you spell that?
P-O-L-Y, P-R-P-O-L-Y. Or you're asking for Yupo?
Yupo. No, I'm just asking how to spell Yupo.
Oh. It's Y-U-P-O.
Oh.
And basically, it's a totally synthetic paper. I think in the past what I've been a little concerned about is it seemed like I saw a lot of people working on UFO and they never seemed to finish one. It was always like this work in progress because you could always wipe it off and wipe off a part and redo it again.
That's neat.
It is, unless you're a perfectionist, and in that case, you probably never will finish it. But that's, if the good thing is it's totally recyclable paper. It's not really paper, it's plastic. It's totally recyclable. I can't vouch for the process of making it, how green that is. But you don't use any trees in it, and it can be reused, recycled. So you can completely wash it with warm soapy water and let it dry. You can use both sides, either side. It comes in different weights, 144 pounds, 74 pounds, and 68-pound pieces. And I think, Randy, do you know what this is?
140.
This is 140 pounds. Okay.
So, is that what you prefer for your workshop then?
Right, and I gave you on the workshop supply list some options of where to get it and the cost of it. And the sizes available. You can get it in pads or you can get it separate sheets from Dick Blick. So anyway, it's one of those kinds of surfaces. It's a lot like hot press in that it sits on the surface, it never soaks in. And so the tendency is you have to put your color down and almost let it dry if you want to go back over with any kind of washes or any other extra colors. But if you can say it quickly and say it spontaneously, it's a lot of fun. And if there's one area, like on this one here, I actually started putting more darks around, and I felt it detracted from the vibrancy of the tulips, the blooms. So I went in and washed all the dark off. And you can, by patting your paper towel, you can leave textures. You can make some really interesting textures with this stuff because it is writing on the surface. You could sprinkle it with alcohol, and it would cause a texture. You could do the salt technique, whatever. I think one of the main reasons I really was reserved about doing it was it's just something new, you know, and as watercolors, we tend to get really used to our materials, and when it starts to be successful for us, we have this kind of idea that we really, some people like Greta would never have this idea. She would just jump in and try new things, but some of us have our comfort zones, you know, and so I think for a long time I had a comfort zone going, and but I knew when I got my new studio this year that I was going to have to face the reality that in order to continue feeling excited and motivated and just filled with joy, that I was going to have to do something that would shake me up a little bit. So this was that leap of faith. This was that thing. So anyway, we'll play with this today. What I found is helpful is to have large amounts of paints mixed up ahead of time, and if you're a fast worker, it's no big deal. You can always mix more. What I did was I mixed a warm and cool yellow, a warm and cool red, and warm and cool blues.
Have you told us what that palette is, whose palette that is?
This is just a Creative Mark palette. It runs about $10 through Jerry's Artorama. And every couple of years, I'll get a new one and start a new palette. And my partner's got this great idea. Can I share that, Rennie? She's going to have one palette that's just totally for flowers, one palette that's for landscapes and different colors. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I'm giving her credit for that idea. Yes?
I just want to know, when there's a picture you're happy with, how do you preserve it so it doesn't?
Okay, first of all, it does need to go under glass, just like the watercolor. But you can also spray it with a UV protectant. And the thing is, if you go up next to it, you can scratch it.
Yeah.
So that's why when I came, I had a board over the top, because you can scratch it, you can, but the nice thing about it is that it's not that difficult to repair. So it's not like you're digging into the surface, you're just scratching the paint off. So, yeah.
What's the cost of this compared to regular
This size sheet at Dick Blick is about $5. I think it's on sale right now for $4.63 a sheet. You can cut this up into pieces. You can use the front and back. And if you don't like what you do, you wash it off and start over again. But you see, that's part of it that kind of bothers me, is because I don't know, the idea of continually starting over on something instead of planning ahead. I'm the old school that planning ahead is helpful, but I think you can still plan ahead using this. It's just that you have to be open to serendipity type things. Yes?
About the washing off, your staining colors will stain the paper.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
won't get the true white.
Well, right, but you can get it pretty close.
Yeah.
And the other thing, you have to make sure your hands are really clean. You don't want any kind of oils. And because you can get a resist. But what you can do, if you get a spot that resists the watercolor on it, you can take a little bit of alcohol and just clean that spot off. So.
I notice you don't have any sketching on the paper.
No, I didn't want to draw with a pencil on here, so I'm going to totally. What I did on another sheet of paper, and I was thinking, I'm not sure what I did with it, but is I took my photograph, which I took of the tulips, and brought these with me, and then I sat down and I did one little sketch of where I want to start and how I want to position it. So it's really going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how it develops. Okay. So I'm going to start, first of all, by just kind of drawing a little bit with a very faint color, just so I have an idea of where I'm going. So I'm taking...
Excuse me, Dick.
Yes.
Is this here? This
Yes.
class is here?
Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking some yellow, and I'm going to just kind of get an idea of where I'm going to, which one am I going to do? Okay, I think I'll do this one. Okay, so in planning for this, I'll do this. Okay.
You sure?
Yeah, that's the one I did the sketch of, and I have it programmed in my computer. Okay, so I'm basically going to come in here, and I'm just going to draw some of the shapes, some of my large shapes, and
So do you not use a pencil because it'll cut the surface of the paper, or no?
well, I don't think it's erasable.
I do.
You can erase it? I thought for myself that it would be more spontaneous for me to just draw with the brush. And if you've never really done that before, it's actually a lot of fun.
See if I can find it.
It's much more nice and loose.
It is. And plus, you know, if you don't feel like your drawing skills are up to par, it will motivate you, hopefully, to is anything in the way? Is it doing well? Good shot up there? Good. Okay, so I'm just drawing my biggest shapes in here. This is kind of a complicated little, so I'm going to exaggerate some parts of it.
Good.
Okay, so, and then I'm going to take my blue. Actually, I don't want to do that yet. I'm going to do my yellows first. A little different thought process. On these, I did my centers first. And on this one, I'm going to put it in last because I want it to explode. So I'm going to come in and I'm using my wide brush, which is another thing that I don't use a lot in my everyday painting that I've been doing for the last 20 years. And if you get a here, I just picked it up. And it's a matter of laying down color. And hoping that it actually doesn't go really that wild if you know how to just lay it in there. And some of that is nice. I'm going to go off the edge there, just because I like that. And I'm taking my cad yellow, and I'm starting up here, and I'm coming down in broad strokes. There's no nitpicking with this. I need to move. It is a good idea to put something down on the table now, I tell you, huh?
I think somebody else has done it before you, so I
But
wouldn't worry.
it will wash off, so.
Yeah.
And this is what's fun. You start to get.
That way.
Debbie, is the drying time on that U-Haul about the same as it is on regular 140-pound paper, or is it a little faster?
It's about the same because it does puddle. It does sit up. Now, what you can do sometimes is kind of fun is you can, you can let it run and do different things that way, which is kind of fun.
Have you used a hairdryer or something like that?
I did, and it works fine, except for, you have to be farther away because it is on a smooth surface and it's not soaked in, so it will blow. If you want that effect, that's one way to get that effect, you know, that and a straw.
Yeah.
So,
Could you like use a heat gun on it that does not?
well, it's plastic. I don't know that you would want to get it really, really hot.
I think I'll further away and just slide it on.
So I just took some permanent rose, and I'm kind of working all over the place. I'm going to go right off the edge there. I'm making my strokes come in. And if you do get a hair on it, I found that when I was painting the other day that it, once it dried, you could just brush it off.
Have you tried the watercolor canvas?
I have. I think I did it. No, I worked on the clay board here, which is similar surface, but this is. I actually like this better than the clay board myself. I'm finding. So I'm coming over here. And I'm just going to pick this up. This is a, what do they call it? A gestalt kind of thing. But see how that kind of makes that beautiful.
It sure does.
Okay, so now,
She makes lots of these.
Yeah, she does.
Must you have to use it, do you use hair dryers once in a while?
yeah, like I just said a second
I'm
ago.
sorry,
Oh, that's
I was-
okay. No, that's okay. I do. You can use a hair dryer with this, but you can't get real close to it because it'll blow it all over. So. Bring this on down a little bit. It's kind of fun because it gets this hard edge, or that level, or that little edge of color.
Yeah. It's hard to do otherwise.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry too much about getting a hard edge when it dries, because an unwanted hard edge, because I haven't really found that that's an issue with working with this so much.
And you could pick it up probably easily too,
Yeah,
if you needed to.
yeah. It's easy to, like I said, it's fairly forgiving. You do want to be a little careful, I think, sometimes waiting too long for to go back in, because you can leave brush strokes, which, as long as they're meaningful brush strokes, there's not a problem with that. But you want to make sure that you understand the dynamics of the movement that you want to get and use the brush to get that. So. This is the thing that makes it look like a tulip, is this little jagged. And let me show you something in a minute here after I get this. I'm just drawing in my shape a little bit to give me an idea where I'm going. But for example, if I wasn't comfortable with that shape exactly, I can just go in and wipe it. If you want to capture a little more light over in this area, you can just lift a little bit. And come in here, rose. Now, one of the things that I notice about these tulips that they have around the center area is they have a little edge of yellow. So I wanted to lift that out a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm over here and I'm grabbing a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of dioxazine purple. And I'm not going to worry too much that it's doing that because I like that kind of loose, juicy look. And I'm not going to do this part yet. I'm going to wait on that. You can take your brush and dry it. There are the stamens that are in here, and I'm just going to lift out. A little bit drier brush, just lift, dry. Okay. Now, there's some really kind of neat things happening over in that corner. Get it to go a little bit further. Just because I liked it. How's it looking up there?
Looking wonderful.
Pretty good.
Beautiful.
Okay. Now, see, I have a little bit of color here that I'm not particularly ready to have there, so I'm just going to lift it out a little bit.
Yes.
I'm just going to come on in here.
It's a perfect example for us. We need to see these kind of things.
But you can see how it would be easy to nitpick it, and you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be too successful in doing that. So I'm gonna come back in here. A little bit more color. And that's pretty thick watercolor, but I've got a lot of water on there, so I'm just drawing it on down. What's kind of fun for me is to be able to see, to be able to actually use just straight bright colors. And
Huh? Oh, yeah, Betty would, yeah.
work on that shape a little bit. And
Yeah, it looks beautiful up there, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, you can?
it is important to have pretty clean water.
Do you need the water getters?
No, I think I'm fine for now. As long as I can get clean yellows.
Must be this row.
Sorry about that.
Did you apologize into the painting?
I don't know, to be honest.
This is great, such a nice free flowing.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody knows my usual style, I think you're probably saying, wow, she's really breaking loose here. And you can do things like, you know, your little splatters if you want to, or just laying in the color and then letting it do its own thing is kind of fun. I think you could do this with the fluid acrylics as well. Now, actually what I want to do is I'm taking a little bit of permanent magenta, and I'm using some different colors than I usually use. I've always had them on my palette, and I do use them occasionally, but I don't think I've ever used them in a workshop. So,
What brand of watercolors are you using?
a variety, mostly Winsor Newton and Da Vinci. In fact, I could almost say that it's almost all Winsor Newton or Da Vinci.
Let's see.
I want you to know that several of us went up to see the Stephen Quiller demo.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have Chuck. It was, I mean, he was fabulous, but it was the worst thing. They had a screen, you know, there were 200 people, and the screen that filled was like 8 feet by 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pale gray, not in focus, and you'd see this ghost-like arm go across and no color whatsoever.
Oh.
And I just couldn't believe that they,
That professional level.
yes. And this is a traveling show, so they're going to do the same thing, you know. And after 10 minutes had gone by, you know, there was no color up there. And they said, well, it's the lights. We don't have a light. So pretty soon they brought in a little bedside lamp. And I said, well, I have somebody out in the car. She said, no, well, we have it covered. Well, after 10 minutes, she came over and said, would you mind going out to the car? So I went out to my car, and guess where they put the spot? On the ceiling.
Oh.
We still, you know, I thought, not my demo, but Chuck looks good.
Yay, Chuck.
Well, it's easy to work with the artists here and the environment here, so I'm glad everybody enjoys it.
So, this is probably at that point where I almost have to let it set for a minute. So I'm going to think about what I'm going to do around it. Now, I started out doing you can't do like negative painting, the layered stuff that I do, but you can do negative painting if you can wipe out areas and then paint around it. So you can do like one layer of negative painting when it comes to background and stuff. But you know, the medium, what I like to think about mediums like this is that if you let it tell you to some degree what it wants to do, then go with it. This is the perfect medium for showing, taking a plain old tulip leaf and then making it have some personality, you know. And so that's where I'm going to go next is, I'm not actually going to do a full petal, but I'm going to show you what I would do, and if I don't like it, I can wipe it off. So, kind of neat. I think I am going to need some clean water.
I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little muddy.
One vote.
One's fine. It's easier to carry. So anyway, the center area, you can keep dropping paint in, and that's kind of a fun thing. You really can't, you want to be careful not drop things in that are going to turn to mud, but you can come in with some pretty nice colors. I just dropped some Prussian blue in there, a little bit of viridian green, a little bit of maroon, and dioxazine purple. That's what's so fun, is that I'm using things I don't usually use, so. Great, thank you. Sylvia? Thank you. Okay, so down under here is, that's a shadow area, and it doesn't show a shadow on my picture, but I'm thinking it might be kind of fun to introduce some blues in there. So I'm going to go with a cerulean. And actually, you have to have quite a bit of moisture, so you want a brush that really soaks up. Thinking maybe over in this area as well. Oh, that's okay.
Don't try it, she won't be able to take the film, she'll
Clever. It's right on top of the, it's how we shrink wrap.
The shrink wrap, right.
So,
That's the heat gun, though, it's
Yeah.
not the lower house.
what I like to do is
New experiment.
is just kind of accentuate what I've done around some edges there, is just put a taste of blue here and there. And it's an experiment. What's also nice is you can experiment with using your brush maybe in a little bit different way.
So wiping out could stand in for masking.
Yes, it could, and they do have tools now, like that are rubber, and they're chiseled. So you can use a palette knife to scrape things out, You can use these new rubber tools to lift things out. You can use makeup sponges, the little dense makeup sponges that are come in wedges. You could use those. You can use Q-tips, whatever you want to lift out. You could use, you know, if you wanted to, you could take a comb and drag it through it and get a texture. You know, you could use your own stamps. You could make your stamps and stamp it. There's no telling.
Debbie.
Yes.
One time. Oh, very photogenic. Good shot.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Debbie, here is this in case you need it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You would like it.
I don't know if you want to sit there.
Oh, yeah. The wind effect.
Yes. I'm teasing.
You can see with the spotted face.
Go home with freckles.
Yeah, go grocery shopping, not realizing people looking at you.
So, well, we'll see how that works out. It's really an opportunity to shake your ordinary circumstances a little bit and branch out. See how easy that was? It was just super easy.
It's a good choice.
We'll see if that works. It's so, you know, it's so freeing to just be able to explore your options. Now, if I didn't like that, I could just come in,
This what I like about that.
just wipe that out.
Also, Joy, couldn't you wet an area and just flow the water on it?
Yes,
On the color
definitely.
on?
Yeah, you can definitely do that, and I'll demonstrate that somewhere in just a second. Especially if you use the Winsor colors or your phthalos or ultramarine, things that explode out might really be exciting to use. What I'm doing is mixing a little bit of opera with some cerulean, and that's how I got this lavender. And sometimes the strokes are a little bit obvious, but as you've noticed up in here, a lot of the strokes just kind of blended and melded in.
Beautiful.
So, and I think I'm going to grab a little bit of the cerulean, and I'm going to come up here under this lip.
Debbie, is it the staining colors that explode or the ones with the granulars, the sediment? It's the staining ones.
It's the staining, the phthalos, any of the phthalos, any of the Windsors.
What do they do?
They stain, but they explode as well. Permanent rose will do that. I think your quinacridons, some of them explode and some don't.
So if you want a halo effect around something, you would drop in the sediment and then drop the staining on top of it, and it would give it the line around?
Yes, and also if you mix your, if you want some color separation that's kind of cool, a good one is either permanent rose or permanent alizarin and viridian green. You can get some really nice color separation with those two colors. And let me see. Gotta figure out where I'm at here. I think I'm going to. I'm almost at a point where I'm almost ready to not do much more around in here. It needs to dry a little bit, so I'm gonna take my lemon, and I'm gonna come up here, curve that back in. And I'm not sure I like this line, so I'm just going to try to make it a little bit more flowing. You almost need the line to help create a pathway. It's like, for me, the blue lines around things just kind of helps pop it, but it also helps form a pathway. And let's see. Boy, it looks bright up there.
It gives it depth too.
Yeah. So now, if I wanted to, what you can do is you could touch this line and draw down. And that's kind of a, I don't know if it shows up there. It has a kind of a marbled effect. If you see that pink and turquoise there. Okay, let's see how powerful this thing is. Thanks.
And ocean world, that really pass out plastic syringes.
Probably. And the nice thing about this is it's such a bright white that your colors stay really strong and vibrant.
That's what I was talking about, but I didn't know how to. Okay.
But actually, I think, in answer to your question, Doris, I think it does take a little bit longer for this paper to dry because you've got such wet puddles. Okay, it's still a little damp in places, but
running.
It's running. Is that what you wanted to do?
Where?
Yes.
Oh, up there?
Inside.
No.
But you can catch it right quick, like watch
Oh,
this.
yeah, she can take it out.
Actually, you have to be kind of careful here because,
Because that'll take it down to the white paper.
Oh, yeah.
so. Actually, what I'm gonna do is just do this.
Use color over it. Good. Ooh. Look at that.
That's pretty.
Is she a master artist or what?
No fear.
Yeah.
You can't have fear.
Right, good word.
Yeah, that kinda. And that'll all blend a little bit in a minute. And right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my cloth here. And I'm just going to lift this shape a little bit because I want to go in with a little bit pure color right in this area.
Do you have any other paper for sale?
Not today, but I will try to bring some for the workshop. But there's plenty of time, so you should be able to order some in.
I'd love to practice on that. You know.
Yeah, well, on the workshop papers, I did put where you can get them, and
Oh, okay.
I think that the tablets are actually good for practicing.
Tablets.
Yeah.
Already put the information out on the counter.
Oh, now look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the little stamen things, oh, I don't like that color. Okay, now the other thing that you can use, and I didn't bring any with me today, but the color crayons, the watercolor crayons, the Lyras, they work really well. If you are uncertain about your sketching and you want to sketch it in with a watercolor crayon, you could do that.
And that's a resist, isn't it?
No, it's an actual watercolor in a crayon form.
Oh, it's not a waxy.
No, and as soon as you touch the edge of it with your brush, it will smooth it out and become liquid. But it's one fun way of really getting into the drawing aspect too. So I guess we're pretty close to.
1 o'clock?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to do much more to this at the moment, but because I need to see it myself. Does somebody want to? It's still too wet to hold up.
Hold up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
try it off a
Anybody have
little.
any more questions about? Probably what I'm going to do is I might end up taking this out. I'm not sure that I like it there, but I don't have to make that decision now. I can live with it for a while and then decide. So,
What is it?
Are you gonna get a picture?
No, what's the name of the paper? Say that again.
it's Yupo. Y-U-P-O.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question.
Sure.
Would you leave that red part dark like that, or would you lighten that?
I
What do
actually,
you think?
at this point, I really like it
Okay.
kind of intense, and probably in some other areas, I should probably repeat that color a little bit,
Okay.
but I need to wait. I probably would repeat it down in here a little bit and maybe over in here just.
Because I really like that effect.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and, you know, you can get away with working a little bit, heavier consistency, but I think that the fluid acrylics would probably work really nicely.
So you could do that after it dries, then you would try to wait till it completely dries.
Yeah, after it completely dries, then I will go in with some areas. Whenever you're working on a design, you want to create a pathway. You don't want to just have one odd color somewhere. You want to repeat it. So I'm sure this needs some things, but I'm not sure I can go on and do it right now.
Yeah.
So.
It's nice to know that, though. I mean, you
Yeah.
explained it.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
Debbie, would you like to say goodbye to our viewing audience?
Of course, Chuck.
Goodbye.